We often report on these Hindutva attacks wherever they occur, and they do take many forms, and they've become increasingly clever, I would say, over the years. Tactics include things like increasing their influence, whether politically, socially, through social media, whatever, but they've got this enormous Hindutva army online to influence public opinion. They send out a huge amount of misinformation, which is the next tactic. They use misinformation to smear and stain the Sikh community, to turn people against the Sikh community by spreading fake news, fake information, misinformation. Another huge tactic they use. Another tactic is using false flag, and this is where they blame Sikhs for things ranging from simple graffiti on mandirs, as we've seen in Australia, for example, that turned out, as the police discovered, they were false flag attacks by the Hindu extremists themselves to try and blame the Sikh community, all the way up to large-scale false flag incidents like the Air India bombing in Canada, which is likely, the evidence points to the fact that was a Hindutva, or certainly an RSS extremist false flag incident, terrorist attack, to again blame the Sikh community. Another word that came up there highlights one of the other tactics they use: provoke. This guy who was arrested claimed it was under mental illness that caused him to attack the Sikh community. In fact, actually, as it came out very quietly, he was encouraged to provoke the Sikh community, because again, this is a classic tactic of Hindutva, and we saw it in the Brampton riots recently. This deliberate tactic, when you get Sikh peaceful protesters, for example, protesting outside the mandirs very peacefully and quietly, but completely democratically, they were deliberately provoked. The Hindutva extremists went out there, they deliberately provoked the Khalistan protesters and the Sikh protesters outside, who reacted angrily. Of course they would. And one of the guys was then videoed wielding his flag as a weapon. Now that video was cherry-picked as a prime example. He was provoked into reacting, and that section of his reaction was then selected and spread around social media to say, look how violent these Sikhs are and these Khalistanis are. That is a classic tactic of them. So that's all the tactics that they use. It's on the increase. Now, the one good news about there is always a silver lining to things like this. Why is it increasing? This actually, ironically, is good news. It means Hindutva are getting extremely desperate. They are getting increasingly desperate. So they are reverting to increasingly desperate tactics, because they realise the Khalistan movement is winning. The argument is being won. By adopting these peaceful democratic tactics, the Khalistan movement is winning this battle.